Just have to accept that Daniel Jones is a top quarterback.
It's a bad thing when your kicker is your MVP.
Josh Allen misses having a diva wide receiver one.
As a Jets fan, he's not getting dealt.
Patrick Mahomes, when it comes to a matchup against Josh Allen, he seems to just always have that edge.
If you're a betting man, do anytime touchdown for Josh Allen. He's going to get into the end zone.
Hello and welcome to Ain't That Our Ball. I'm David Scott, and alongside me is NFL expert Ryan Sanudo. Ryan, how's it going this week?
Very good. We got a really nice matchup, Chiefs-Bills. I want to get into it. Let's get into it.
Yeah, we're going to start with just that, Chiefs-Bills. Two top teams. Both teams only got 2 losses this year. It's going to be a tough matchup for both sides. Bills are at home. Who do you got in this one?
So I have the Buffalo Bills. I know they had a little bit of a losing streak before last week, but they're at home. They played on Sunday. The Chiefs played on Monday, so that's a little bit of an advantage there. Josh Allen, I don't think he's looked like the MVP player that he did last year, but they've been finding ways running the football, controlling that clock. I think they lead the league in terms of possession of the football. So that's what they've been doing. James Cook only had 200-plus rushing yards last week.
Insane.
And the Chiefs, they're not that great against the run. So I like the Bills, expect a lot of rushing in this game. Buffalo.
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy to say that this might be a must-win game for the Bills. You know, they're sitting behind the New England Patriots in the standings right now. They got to find some wins to try and get back in the first place. Obviously, they're still in a playoff spot, but to retain the top of the AFC East, they got to find a win somewhere. Against the Chiefs, this is a big one to get it done.
Yeah, the Patriots have been very surprising, 6-2, so that caught them a little off guard. They lost to them a couple weeks ago. So Buffalo, they have to find ways in that offense. The wide receiver position has been a little bit sketchy. They might try to add at the deadline. So Josh Allen, he's been pretty good, but he's not been the same player as last year. And then the defense, they've really struggled too. It was a little bit of a get-right game against Carolina, but let's be honest, that was Andy Dalton.
Yeah, no one's surprised.
He's 38 years old, so Buffalo, I expect them to be a little bit better in this game against Kansas City. If they get that lead early, I think they can control it, and that Buffalo crowd, they need a win desperately, a lot more than Kansas City.
Yeah, honestly, I like the Chiefs in this one. I love what Patrick Mahomes is doing. He's one of those players that you could put in as MVP right now. If you ended the season today, the Chiefs' offense is starting to look really good after their rough start. They're rattling off wins. They've got a lot of momentum right now. Their defense is still a little suspect, but you know, they're the Chiefs. They're going to figure out how to get things done. They always play well against Buffalo. It happens more so in the playoffs than in the regular season, but it's hard for me to ever count out Patrick Mahomes when it comes to a matchup against Josh Allen. He seems to just always have that edge, and I like them to just keep pushing their way forwards back towards the top of the AFC in this matchup. I love Patrick Mahomes. I think he's doing great with Rashee Rice back. That's been a huge impact. They don't quite have the running game yet. If they find some sort of running game, if it happens in this game or if it happens in the future, love the Chiefs going forward.
Yeah, Buffalo struggles against the run. They're going to lose Pacheco, Kansas City, for a couple weeks. Hunt and Smith are going to be in that backfield. But Buffalo, for some reason, they're 4-1 against Mohomes when Allen is under center. So I expect the Buffalo to be 5-1 after this game, just because I feel like Buffalo at home, they need it more, and they get that extra day compared to Kansas City. I feel like Buffalo's offense can find ways just against that Chiefs defense, just running the football with James Cook. I think it's going to be very close. I'm not going to expect a 30-something to 30-something. I'm going to expect defense still holding it together for both sides, but I think it's going to be close, but I got Buffalo.
And you said the fans are really going to have to get into it. Orchard Park is one of the toughest places to play in all of football. The fans can have a real impact there, and if the Bills get ahead early, it might just be no chance for the Chiefs if the crowd is really into it.
Definitely. And the tight ends, I feel like they have to get involved. Kincaid, Knox. So Josh Allen has struggled a little bit downfield. I think that's a lot towards, the wide receivers. So if they can just move the football with the tight ends, the running backs, and of course Josh Allen, you can't say it enough with his legs. I feel like that can just surprise a defense out of nowhere. So I feel like Josh Allen will use his legs. Hey, if you're a betting man, do anytime touchdown for Josh Allen. He's going to get into the end zone in this game.
Well, Josh Allen uses his legs a lot, but what's a little bit surprising is that Patrick Mahomes actually has more rushing yards than Josh Allen this year. Josh Allen still has more touchdowns, but Mahomes has been using his legs a lot, so we can't count that out against the Bills either.
Definitely, and he's been throwing a lot of balls underneath. I feel like they're one of the best teams in terms of very short passes. So the Chiefs, they throw the ball very quickly, and then like you said with Mahomes, loves to run the football. So it's very unpredictable what the Chiefs can do. But at the same time, the Bills are really good against short passes. So I feel like if the Bills can manage Mahomes and make him stay in that pocket a little too long, they can get the sack on him. The thing is, though, Ed Oliver is going to be out for quite a while, so that's going to be very crucial. That's going to be very bad for Buffalo.
Yeah, it's a tough loss for them. Well, Chiefs-Bills is not the only good game this week. We got another good matchup between the Indianapolis Colts and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are sliding a little bit. A couple tough losses here, but the Colts are still riding high. Boy, do they look good. Let's start on the Colts side. Daniel Jones, just a complete surprise this year, but I don't think we can act surprised anymore. He's doing it week after week. You just have to accept that Daniel Jones is a top quarterback.
Yeah, we're almost at the halfway point. He's definitely a top 3, top 4 quarterback this year in terms of his production. Over 250 yards average per game. And he uses his legs here and there too. The way the Colts run things, it starts with their offensive line. The offensive line has been very good for Jones. And once that is a thing for Jones, all bets are off. He's been so great connecting with his receivers, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Tyler Warren. And then you're thinking, okay, Daniel Jones, you have to worry about him, Jonathan Taylor. So there's so many things you have to worry about if you're an opposing defense. And Daniel Jones, I think he's a top 3, top 4 MVP candidate. Jonathan Taylor is up there too as well.
He should be in there too, yeah.
He should be there too, definitely. But the Colts, I feel like they're just running on all cylinders. They're just top to bottom, very skilled, and I feel like they should be, getting a comfortable win in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, the offensive line is really what should be getting a lot of credit for this Colts team. I was looking through some of their footage against the Titans, and there were some plays where Jonathan Taylor was running up the middle, and it felt like he had 10 yards on either side of him, where the offensive line just pushed defenders apart. And sure, it's the Titans. They're not the NFL's best team, but you shouldn't be bullying any unit that badly where your running back can just waltz through. He could have walked through that gap. So it's incredible what they're doing. They've built up just such a great offensive line, and it's giving Daniel Jones time to pass. It's giving Jonathan Taylor time to run wherever he wants. When you have an offensive line like that, there's so much more that you can open up in an offense, and it's given them so many opportunities to find wins.
It's a quarterback-driven league, but I think it starts with the offensive line. And if the offensive line is average or below average, you're going to expect lower things, worse production from your quarterback. And with Daniel Jones, it starts with the offensive line. They've averaged 30-plus points in the last 4 games. So you could just tell the Colts when you see them on offense, you just know they're going to score at least a field goal. And if they're scoring touchdowns left and right, that creates pressure for the other team. And with Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, I feel like that's going to be a big problem for them. Just because the Steelers' defense is they're one of the worst defenses against the pass. And Daniel Jones will just be seeing food on that defense, I think.
Yeah, so the Steelers, definitely a lot less excitement to talk about from their side. They're on a bit of a slide here. 2-game skid, lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. That was really bad. And then they lose to the Green Bay Packers. They didn't look all that good in that matchup either. Aaron Rodgers has been taking a bit of a step back. He still looks pretty good. Defense looks really not good. Yeah. There's just a lot of things to want more from on the Steelers team.
Yeah, I mean, they're bad against the pass. Jalen Ramsey, the cornerbacks really aren't, covering their guys. I feel like Jordan Love, he completed 20 passes in a row. So that just tells you that defense is struggling mightily. And that can happen in this day and age with a 41-year-old in Aaron Rodgers. He's not the 28-year-old Aaron Rodgers that won a Super Bowl. So I feel like the Steelers, they're a team that if they're from the get-go not getting things on defense, it's not going to look pretty for them moving forward. So I expect Pittsburgh to lose this game. It's going to be tough. I know it's at home, but Indy is just too good on offense. I have to believe it to see it when it comes to Pittsburgh. I haven't been impressed with any of the games that they even win. Like the Browns game they won, it wasn't really pretty. The Vikings, they almost lost to the Vikings. They came back at the end a little bit, Minnesota. So Pittsburgh from top to bottom, they've been inconsistent in a lot of areas.
Yeah, and Acrisure really hasn't been home field advantage for them this year. They lost last week to the Packers while at home. So, it's just not been that much of a boost to them. They just really have not found their stride, and I don't know if they're going to find it. We're talking about how this is just such an easy division this year with how bad the Bengals and Browns and Ravens have been, but they're still scuttling. Like, they still cannot find their stride against such terrible opponents. So, you're going up against now the top team in the AFC. You can't expect to find a win here.
It's a bad thing when your kicker is your MVP. I think Chris Boswell was the reason why they were up in that game. He was just kicking field goals left and right. You know it's going in when it's Chris Boswell. So a lot of things need to get corrected. The run game isn't good. DK Metcalf looked good against Green Bay. And yes, I saw good things out of Roman Wilson. But I just feel like the consistency really isn't there. They're not moving the ball consistently. So, I think I'm not really liking Pittsburgh in this matchup. And I think it's mostly because of the matchup. It's just a tough matchup against Indy, but it's also because of that offense and defense.
Well, speaking of things that need to be improved, a lot of teams are going to be looking for improvement over the next week as the trade deadline is coming up on Tuesday of next week. A lot of pieces are going to get moved around. There might be a blockbuster here and there. Let's talk about some pieces that could be moved and where they might end up. Who's on your radar as a possible trade piece?
So there's a bunch of guys that are available that are on terrible teams. The Tennessee Titans, Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley. And then with the Saints, the 2 wide receivers, Chris Olave, Shaheed. I think Shaheed is getting dealt. But the talk of the world right now, I think, is A.J. Brown. And Philly is always going to be a big, conversation. Obviously, they just won a Super Bowl. But the controversy with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts and the team and him not getting enough targets, I don't think he's getting traded. But, hey, in this league, you never know. All of a sudden, a blockbuster happens, like out of the blue. I didn't expect Micah Parsons to get dealt before the deadline, before the season, and it happened. So anything can happen in this league. A.J. Brown wants the targets. He's hurt right now, though, so I think that's going to damper people's expectations if he's going to get traded. But A.J. Brown, man, it's just been very weird over there. Like, he's been sending out cryptic tweets. I think he's deleted posts that are related to Jalen Hurts, I think. So it's been very weird. I feel like it's a common thing every single year with A.J. Brown. And the truth of the matter is, Philly shouldn't trade A.J. Brown.
No,
he should be the number one guy on that team. He's a great deep target, crossing routes. He's a guy that only helped them win a Super Bowl last year. So I think it's pretty crazy if they would trade him.
Yeah, I think it would be an odd decision to trade him. If he does get traded, you could look at a team like the Buffalo Bills to make a run at. I think Josh Allen misses having a diva wide receiver one. Hasn't had a guy like Stephon Diggs in a while, and they could use some receiver help there. But again, it would take a lot to get that trade done. And it just doesn't really make sense for the Eagles. He's a big part of their offense, and you don't want him gone. But at the same time, you don't really like what he's talking about when he's in the locker room.
Yeah, Philly is saying we are not entertaining offers, but at the same time, if it's a big offer, we will be interested. So I feel like that's what all these teams say. We're not trading this guy, but okay, well, if it's 2 first-rounders or a first-rounder plus, we're interested. But I don't think teams are going to do it just because of the contract. And I feel like teams are just conservative, before the deadline. So, yes, the Bills want a wide receiver. I'm thinking more Shaheed, a guy like that's younger. But A.J. Brown, I would be, if I'm an opposing team and I see A.J. Brown's available, I'm swooping in and trying to grab him.
All right, well, how about in the running game? How about a guy like Breece Hall? The New York Jets are obviously struggling. Sure, they pick up a win last week against the Bengals, but they got pieces to move. They're definitely in a rebuild. Guy like Breece Hall coming into the end of his contract seems like a prime candidate to be moved somewhere, right?
Yeah, he's definitely more likely to get traded before the deadline. As a Jets fan, I think he's not getting dealt just because of the fact that he's been so good this year. And yes, they're 1-7. But yes, you could say running backs are expendable. But the truth of the matter is, Braylon Allen is still hurt. And Isaiah Davis, I really haven't seen enough out of him. Breece Hall is the offense when it's not Wilson out there. And he only showed it against Cincinnati last week. So Breece Hall, I think you give it one more year, and if you're in the same boat, then you probably trade him and then draft a running back the following year. But I think you just hold on to him, see what he can do second year with Aaron Glenn and company. But at the same time, if a team is offering you a second-round pick, I would be interested, maybe an early second-round pick to middle. But I don't know if teams are willing to do that. I feel like teams don't want to trade a first or second-round pick for a running back.
Yeah, I'm part of the camp that says that Breece Hall is going to get traded this year. I just think it makes a little too much sense for the Jets. You can get a decent draft capital out of a player who is possible to not re-sign when the contract comes up. I look at a team like the obvious candidate is the Kansas City Chiefs. The running game's been terrible. They could use a guy like Breece Hall to get them over the hump. But I think a sleeper team that you could throw in there is a team like the Houston Texans. They're 3-4 this year. They're only the 9 seed in the AFC, so they're 2 spots out of a playoff spot. They're definitely still trying to make a push for the playoffs. Their running game has not been great. You got guys like Nick Chubb and Woody Marks running out there every game, so they could use some help. And if they want to make a push, they're going to have to make trades to get some better candidates around their offense. So a guy like Breece Hall could definitely elevate them. But again, it's a matter of if he does get traded. I do think he gets traded. It's just a matter of where. Keep an eye out for the Texans, maybe.
Yeah, the Jets have a bye week, obviously, this upcoming week. It would be a great fit, you're right. Breece Hall going to Kansas City. But I feel like Andy Reid, he's a little bit stubborn when it comes to those running backs. They tend to not add a running back before the deadline. He loves Kareem Hunt. Smith, they just drafted. He's going to get used more against Buffalo. And then Pacheco, it doesn't seem like it's a season-ending injury. It's going to be maybe a week-to-week injury. So you still got 3 running backs, and they're 5-3. So if the offense was playing terribly, maybe you could make the argument. But I just feel like Kansas City would be a great fit in terms of his playing abilities. But in terms of Andy Reid and company, I just feel like they're a little stubborn when it comes to running backs. They're comfortable with what they have right now.
Yeah, so I think both of us are not really expecting any huge, massive deals to happen this deadline. It's going to be a lot of depth pieces moved around, wide receiver 2s, RB2s, maybe some linemen, some corners. But it feels like there hasn't been a lot of splashes at the trade deadline in recent years, and I think that's probably going to happen this year as well.
Yeah, it's going to be more like needs. Like the Detroit Lions, they need cornerbacks. A team that needs a running back, Pollard's out there. So I feel like teams that need an edge rusher, like the 2 in Miami and Jalen Phillips, and also Bradley Chubb is going to be available too. So teams that need that edge rusher, defensive lineman, they're going to be out there for teams. But I don't think you're going to see a total splash before the deadline. It would shock me. Trey Hendrickson is not getting dealt. Myles Garrett, I don't think he's getting dealt. Cleveland literally said you have a better chance of winning the lottery than for this to happen. So I'll believe them. So I feel like if you're an NFL fan out there and you're expecting big deals, you're going to be out of luck.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Ain't That Our Ball. You can catch us every Thursday, and you can watch our tactics show X's and O's every Monday. Please leave a like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments if you think your favorite team is going to pull off a trade deadline deal.